At 78, I never expected to be holding a loaded Colt M1911 in my cardigan pocket while three men in fake police uniforms tore through my living room. HOA enforcement, they claimed, demanding I sign over the deed to the house I'd lived in for 43 years. My knees ached and my hands shook with arthritis as I gripped the stair banister, watching one of them toss aside my wedding photo like trash. The tall one, Marcus, leaned in close, breath hot against my cheek, whispering, "Cooperate, or things get ugly, Grandma." But beneath the Afghan on my lap wasn't just a worn quilt, it was a warning. I wasn't some helpless old lady. They had no idea who they were messing with. My name is Irene Blackwell. To my neighbors, I'm just Irene with the Rose Garden. To the Pine Haven HOA, I became public enemy number one. It started on a bright Tuesday morning when I found a white envelope tucked under my garden gnome, same one my late husband gave me for our 40th anniversary. Inside was a $500 violation notice. My award-winning Rose Garden, the one that won county ribbons 3 years in a row, was suddenly non-compliant. I laughed and tossed it on the counter. Clearly, someone had made a mistake. A week later, the fine jumped to $1,200 with threats of enforcement action. That's when I called the HOA office and was connected to Richard Voss, the new president. His voice was pure grease. "We're modernizing," he said. "Older residents like yourself often struggle with change." That phrase stuck in my head like a splinter. The next day, I visited my neighbor Dot, a retired nurse, and she showed me her own violation for a butterfly garden used by the local elementary school. Same envelope. Same threat. Then came the kicker. A real estate agent had called her out of the blue offering cash for her home. Too much coincidence. That night, I went down to the basement and found James' old military trunk. Inside, still gleaming, was his Colt 1945 and a stack of papers from my years teaching constitutional law. I hadn't picked up that gun in decades, but it still felt like it belonged in my hands. I wasn't planning to shoot anyone, but I remembered what James used to say. Real cops won't always be there. Sometimes, you have to stand your ground. 2 days later, those three men showed up. HOA enforcement, Marcus said, flashing a badge I could have bought online. I recorded everything on my phone. Georgia's a one-party consent state. When they tried to push in, I stepped back and said, "You're trespassing. And if you don't leave, you'll be talking to real police next." The two younger guys wavered. But Marcus sneered. "Old people like you don't belong here anymore." After they left, I found a hidden camera in my oak tree aimed straight at my door. That's when I called my granddaughter, Lorena, real estate attorney in Atlanta. She reviewed the video, listened to the threats, and said, "Grandma, this isn't just HOA nonsense. This is organized harassment. And I think I know who's behind it." Lauren dug into public records. Pine Haven HOA was formed by ClearPoint Development 5 years ago. Turns out, ClearPoint had filed for a $60 million project in our area. But to get approval, they needed 75% of the properties. And surprisingly, House and Dot sat on the most valuable plots. That's when we started organizing. We formed what Dot jokingly called the Resistance League. There was Henry, a retired engineer, Amira, a widowed accountant, and George, a former court clerk. Every one of us had received fake violations. Every one of us had been pressured to sell. Then came the threats. A brick through my window. A dead animal on Dot's porch. George's car brakes cut. Lauren and I filed complaints, but local officials looked the other way. Henry scanned our homes and found military-grade bugs hidden behind picture frames. Dot's dog was poisoned but survived. Amira got cited for hanging Indian prayer flags she'd had up for 15 years. Then it got personal. One night, I caught Scott, one of the enforcers, breaking into my house. He froze when I stepped into the kitchen, Colt in hand. "Don't shoot," he begged. "Marcus made me do it. They said if we didn't find something to declare you incompetent, they'd ruin us. My daughter's dying of leukemia. I needed the money." The next day, Lauren took that confession and our growing file of evidence to a retired detective named Johnson. He'd heard of ClearPoint and their reputation. With his help, we exposed their entire scam. Fake violations, surveillance, threats, and pressure tactics, all to drive out older residents and grab the land cheap. But the biggest twist came when Scott handed us a USB. On it, a property map. Houses marked red, yellow, and green. Priority targets. Financial vulnerabilities. Medical histories. All cataloged like war plans. And it got worse. Clearpoint wasn't just after real estate. Beneath Pine Haven was a deposit of rare earth minerals. The HOA, just a front for a mining project masked as a shopping complex. Richard Voss was a puppet. The real mastermind was a man named Weston Parr, a shadowy investor with ties to organized crime. We triggered a sting operation with the FBI. I went on local TV, calling him out by name. That night, he showed up at my door. He tried charm, then threats, then blackmail. Sign the deed. He hissed, showing me live footage of Lauren's house on his phone. One call, and she's gone. I smiled, reached into my cardigan, and placed James Colt on the table. Funny thing about old women, Mr. Parr. We've lived long enough to know when to shoot. The FBI burst in seconds later. Weston was arrested, and with him, the entire scheme collapsed. Dozens of officials were implicated. The HOA was dissolved. A new, real association was formed with George as president. Lauren helped pass new laws protecting elderly homeowners from similar fraud. We rebuilt our neighborhood. Dot's garden bloomed again. Henry wrote a book called Never Underestimate Grandma. Amira taught Indian cooking classes. And me? I buried James Colt back in the trunk, sealed it tight, and planted a rose bush over it. Some fights are worth it. Some people think getting old means getting weak. But when the wolves came for us, they found out what it really means to be strong.